I think the big news story that everyone's been talking about from Doctor Who's 61st birthday was the announcement that there would be another black and white colorization that would be broadcast in like a truncated omnibus version. Last year it was the original The Dalek story, which, according to Steph Coburn and the BBC iPlayer, is the very first Doctor Who story ever. In my opinion, it's kind of been like the worst kept secret in terms of Doctor Who creation. I knew that this War Games colorization was being worked on before the Daleks one broadcast like a year ago, so it was just a case of playing the waiting game for the official announcement, which did happen on Doctor Who Day. Second Doctor Adventure, The War Games, returns in full colour. Classic Doctor Who story, The War Games, is going to be brought to life in stunning new colorization to air on BBC4 and iPlayer on the 23rd of December. It's time to step into the excitement of The War Games once again, as one of Doctor Who's most classic tales is to receive a spectacular new colorization. Originally aired in 1969, The War Games marked the end of an era for the Second Doctor, following him and his companions Zoe and Jamie as they land on a battlefield that appears to be a World War I military zone, but all is not as it seems. They soon discover that soldiers from different historical periods have been abducted and are being manipulated in a cruel game. As they work to uncover the mystery behind the Warlord and his twisted experiments, the Doctor faces one of his most difficult challenges. So it also is accompanied with these really cool, high quality colorized photos from the War Games as well. Like, this isn't just a color job, this is like an increasing clarity and fidelity of the image. These look really, really great. Now, this is the bit that has got people confused and excited. In addition, the episode will also feature the Second Doctor's never-before-seen regeneration into the Third Doctor, Jon Pertwee, alongside recovered footage not seen since the original broadcast. This is one hell of a bombshell to just drop mid-article on top of these mysterious Time Lords, you know, in their blue and white robes and pink ceiling. Honestly, not the vibe I would have gone for. I personally thought it was like black and white. I didn't know that it was blue. Has it always been blue? Is that sort of like the canonical accepted look for these War Games Time Lords? I don't know. But anyway, so this is essentially going to be a 90-minute version of the War Games. And for those of you who don't know, the War Games is one of the longest stories in classic Doctor Who. It's a bloody 10-parter. It is, no joke, around 220 to 210 minutes long. It's a lengthy, beastly, girthy story. So at 90 minutes, there is an awful lot to truncate. The Daleks in colour as well was relatively easy to truncate, I think. I still haven't watched the Daleks in colour, even though it's like nearly a year old, and I've got the bloody steelbook that I unboxed and everything. And to be fair, I don't know how you folks can expect me to watch the Dalek colorization whilst also having a freelance TV job, also doing live streams, and also having to listen to 600 hours of Big Finish audios every week, because that's how much they release. I know there's around 160 hours in a week, but somehow Big Finish managed to release 600 hours of audios every week, so you tell me how on earth the math checks out there. I've not had time to watch the Daleks in colour yet, so I can't personally vouch for whether or not the editing or the cuts or any of the changes to that were any good. But when it comes to the War Games, cutting a 200-ish minute story to around 90 minutes, especially considering that the War Games, a story I've not seen for a long time, but from memory is a story that bounces around numerous locations, like episode to episode. It makes the chase look really, really restrained in hindsight, and the Daleks' master plan. It's a massive story, so a lot is going to end up on the cutting room floor. Honestly, though, when it comes to the War Games, I think they could have cut more. You can get a solid 25-minute episode out of the War Games. I kid, mostly. I kind of kid, partly. Every good joke's got a basis in reality. I understand that it's Benjamin Cook who has done the edit for this one again, much like he did for the Daleks in colour. Once again, can't vouch for whether or not that was any good. But yeah, we'll see how this pans out. Russell T Davies, showrunner, says, "From the day I arrived back on Doctor Who, this was the plan, to colorise old stories and bring them back to life. And on Doctor Who Day itself, it's great to announce this, celebrating the show's wonderful heritage with an all-time classic. It looks so vivid and new, and for fans of black and white, the story in its original format will stay on BBC iPlayer, so everyone wins. I actually watched this transmit in 1969 at 6 years old, terrified of the Roman soldiers, fascinated by villains with glinting spectacle, and in awe of the Doctor's brand new origin. Now fans old and new can continue it all over again. This special episode is the second time that a classic Doctor Who story has been colorised, following the Daleks, which was updated to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the franchise, and we also got a trailer as well on the official Doctor Who YouTube channel. I won't play too much of it because, you know, there's going to be copyright.
Your appearance has changed before, it will change again.
So yeah, it looks like we're getting the generic gold glow regeneration.
You can't do this to me!
Wouldn't that decanonize the two Doctors if you decanonize season 6B? It actually would. It would make the two Doctors even more confusing than it already is. But we'll figure it out in we'll figure it out in the edit. I've seen some really volatile and kind of strange reactions to this announcement of people who are, I think, under the impression that the War Games, the original, has like been burned or destroyed from the archives because this thing exists. Like, they were gonna do a version of this like in HD anyway. So if they're gonna, increase the profile of the show and have like regular restoration and colorization projects like every year, then it's fine. This isn't a case of like, oh, they're doing colorizations every 3 months and it's like super labor intensive and it's really immoral, or they're just churning these out. These, like, if they're doing one a year, there's no harm in this. They'll release another Steelbook, I'm sure. When they release this on Blu-ray Steelbook eventually, which hasn't formally been announced, but I think it's a matter of time, they'll have the original 10-parter on there. I still have the original 10-part on DVD. It's signed by Wendy Padbury when I met her at Hooverville a few months ago, which was very lovely. So it still exists. I kind of wish that, I'd met her next year instead of this year, so she could have signed the Steelbook instead of the DVD. But hey, that's just how it works. I think Utopic777 in the chat is right. We need to go for a different approach. We don't need to colorize old Doctor Who stories. We need to animate them. Animated survival. We need to do animated The Deadly Assassin. We need to do live-action Scream of the Shulker, starring Richard E. Grant. Ian Levine is very angry, so I'm happy. Yeah, that tracks. I'd watch that Scream of the Shulker thing. Do it! Kind of in the way, it's like how those university students made Mission to the Unknown in live action. They should do that with Scream of the Shulker. Blink coloring. Yeah, we need to do a black and white Blink. Actually, hasn't George Shedd, future showrunner, of course, George Shedd, hasn't he done like a black and white edit of Wild Blue Yonder? Yeah, oh yeah, he's got an edit of it on YouTube. Well, it's a trailer.
Absolute nothing. The TARDIS was out of control. It's taken us to the edge of the universe.
An instant classic, reimagined in 4:3 black and white. This looks so cool.
Donna, is that you?
Film Noir Wonder. Yeah, exactly. So this is coming on the 2nd of December. Check it out. Check out future showrunner George Shedd's channel. But yeah, like I said, the reaction to this War Games re-edit, it's so strange to me. Like, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it. If it's not like they're excising the War Games from the BBC archives. They're not going to go an unearthly child on this thing, okay? It's still there. The original televised version will take precedence in terms of the canon. It's just an extra fun little thing for fans, since they are doing a regeneration story. It's kind of like in the way how, for the Daleks in colour, they gave the dialogue a rejig from the Daleks, and they're voiced by Nicholas Briggs. One reason they did that is because the faster pace of the edits mean that they couldn't use the original dialogue, because the original voice actors in the Daleks in 1963 spoke slower, with more pauses and gaps in the sentences, so in order to tighten up the pace, they got Nicholas Briggs in. As far as I'm aware, that is literally the only reason, well, the main reason at least, that they brought in Nicholas Briggs to redo that dialogue. So it's kind of like if you're doing a regeneration story, and the regeneration effect, for the most part in the revived series, is basically uniform, with the orange glow in that sound effect, then okay, do that for the ending of the War Games, so that a person who is only really acquainted with the revival can understand visually and see those references and motifs in a classic story in colour. Now, personally, when it comes to colorized stories, my initial prediction ages ago when the Daleks was first announced for a second Doctor one would have been something like The Invasion or The Tomb of the Cybermen. The Invasion has an issue in that 2 of the episodes are missing, so fair enough, but for like Tomb of the Cybermen, I think it would have looked great in colour, but it would have been a lot of like silver, would have been a lot of greys and whites, whereas with the War Games, you have a lot more locations, a lot more characters, a lot more actors and casts and settings and time periods. So that was that seems like a really interesting challenge in order to colorize that story, but also it's a lot more varied and unique. It's a good pick, and when this comes out on home media, they'll probably release all 10 episodes as well, not in color, but they'll be on the disc as well, kind of very similar to what they did for the Daleks in colour, where there's a 90-minute omnibus colour version, but then you can still watch the original 10-part black and white as well, and it's still going to be in the iPlayer, so there's no harm in this. If anything, this is just a good thing for BBC4 to have on December 23rd when this thing broadcasts. So yeah, go for it, check it out, and if you want to support the Steelbooks and the home media Doctor Who release and everything, then buy it when it comes out on home media, whatever. I guess hope that the Blu-ray cover is significantly better than the Daleks one.